This is the Galactic Emperor of the Universe. I'm here to tell you all to subscribe to UnrealEntGaming and remember to turn on notifications. You will be the first to know all about the latest Dragon Ball news and information.
Oh, did you say UnrealEntGaming? Oh, I love his channel.
God damn it, Zarbon, stop rubbing your nipples and get back to bed!
What is going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome back to another Dragon Ball FighterZ discussion video, where today I am joined by two very special guests as we talk about the upcoming Dragon Ball FighterZ game scheduled for 2018. Now, before we dive deeper into this video, just note that this video is going to be primarily focusing on both the good and the bad aspects of Dragon Ball FighterZ. Now, joining me here today, I have my good friend DevilArtemis and my good friend Fusion, aka Danny from Discord, and today we're going to share different opinions and ideas as to how we feel about the upcoming game. Now, first things first, the entire community seems to be a little torn by this because some people in the community feel as if the game is simply a cash grab. Some people think that the game just looks terrible. It looks like a copy and paste of Mugen. Other people out there are very excited, like DevilArtemis, that the game is going to bring back competitive fighting and just having that feel sort of like Marvel vs. Capcom, Street Fighter, and elements of those games. So I want to start off with Danny. So Danny, I want to get your opinion first and foremost as to why you think that this game is simply going to be a cash grab for Bandai and why you feel as if the game is not going to live up to its, fullest potential.
In my opinion here goes back to Xenoverse 3 pretty much. Xenoverse 3 is going to be a big game. It's going to include the entirety of the Dragon Ball story, not the Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super story.
So you feel as if there is going to be another Bandai game that's going to be called Xenoverse 3 down the line.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to involve everything. It's going to involve all the forms of Frieza, all the forms of Cell, Boo, everything. It's going to involve the entire Super Arc, even maybe GT. It's going to be a big game, so it's going to take a long time to make. My opinion is that FighterZ is a transitional game. It's there just to get money for the company while they're working on Xenoverse 3.
Okay, so you feel as if the game isn't essentially needed in the community because you think that the game is simply there just to be like sort of like a cash cow for the company itself, correct?
To buy Namco's time or Bandai, whatever.
So you're saying to buy them time to further develop the next big Dragon Ball game. Okay, now I respect that because again, there are people in the community who feel the same way, and I do want to say, guys, in my opinion, I think the game ought to be given a chance. Why? Because I do also agree that there is going to be a Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3 down the line. Whether it's next year, whether it's 2019, who knows? I'm not an ambassador for, Bandai to even say, but I do think that there is going to be another game down the road, but I don't think, in my opinion, that FighterZ is going to be sort of like a cash grab because of what the developers have told us in a latest interview. Now, DevilArtemis, you are extremely hyped for this game. On the other hand, you think that this game is going to be possibly one of the best games in recent memory, and I wanted to get your take on this because I know that you're fully supporting the game, and I wanted to ask you two questions. Number one, what do you have to say to those people who are naysayers about the product and saying that the game just looks garbage and overall, animation usages? People are saying that it looks like a Mugen fan-made game, as seen before. If you guys don't know what Mugen is, go ahead and YouTube it. I mean, there's lots of different variations of Hyper Dragon Ball or Mugen. So what are your thoughts to the people that think that this is a game that's either being used as a cash grab, and why do you feel as if this game should be a game that people ought to be excited for?
Alright, well, first off, to everybody listening, I want you guys to really take, before you comment, before you, assume some things, I want you guys to really listen, because I'm going to take the time to personally kind of educate you guys. And really what this game is, this Dragon Ball FighterZ, it's, from what we learned from the interview with the producer of the series, is this game, I don't feel it's what Danny's saying, a transition or a game to just fill in,
to buy time for Bandai, right?
Because there's no confirmation that Xenoverse 3 right now is a thing.
Right.
It's not law that every Dragon Ball Z game has a trilogy. Raging Blast never had the light of day to see.
Well, that's because it undersold.
Game. Right, but either way, regardless of the fact, how do we know from what the producer said, that they're not taking the move from arena fighters to 2D fighters. Now, before we go into that, basically what this game is being made to serve its purpose is to enter the world of esports. Esports is humongous. For those of you who do not know what esports is, I'm surprised you don't, but esports is basically, it's a sport. It's a sport that involves video games. Video games can be treated like a sport. There's competition, it takes skill. You might not be running and you might not be sweating and doing all this stuff, but the concept of what you're achieving is the same. You're competing to come out on top.
Right.
Esports is rising. That shit was first a laughing stock in media. Now, companies go crazy to sponsor at esports because they cannot believe how many people watch esports. One of the biggest tournaments in the United States is called Evolution, EVO, and that happens in California. Okay. EVO hosts some of the biggest fighting game championships. If you win EVO or you look into EVO, there are so many people who go to EVO. So much money is raised at EVO. It is insane.
Can you give us an example of some of the fighting games that are at EVO?
Well, EVO has games like this, like Super Smash Brothers, Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom 3. They feature other games.
And you can see the correlation between those games and fighters, correct?
Right. Well, right. So the main thing that FighterZ is trying to get into is they're trying to get into the world of esports because it's a better moneymaker than what they're working with now. Esports is primarily focused on three things: MOBAs, shooters, and fighters. Okay, all three of them make a shit ton of money. And if Dragon Ball Z can get into esports, especially into what we call the FGC, which stands for the fighting game community, they are attracting Marvel vs. Capcom fans, Street Fighter fans, because the producer, the game developer, of Dragon Ball FighterZ is Arc System Works. They are the developers of another popular game series called Guilty Gear.
Guilty Gear, yep.
Yeah, Guilty Gear is also a game that people play in the FGC, and that's why this game is so similar to Guilty Gear and very similar to Marvel vs. Capcom. For anybody who's ever played Marvel vs. Capcom, this game is very similar to that. Now, this game is not made, I'm sorry to say, but it is not made for people who want arena play games. Like, in a way, there are different categories of fighting games. You know, they have arena brawlers is what you would call them, where it's not on a 2D plane. You can fly around and do whatever you want and blow up the arena and stuff. That would be something like Tenkaichi 3.
Right.
You know, things like that. You know, technically it's a fighting game, but it's more for like party use. It's not something that can be taken competitive because it's not balanced. Definitely not balanced. There's always patches coming out to fix something. The frame data isn't as critical and heavy as it is for a fighting game like Street Fighter.
Right.
For Street Fighter, frame data is the amount of frames a move takes to come out. So if a character is gonna throw like a Kamehameha wave, from the amount of frames it takes him to stand to actually throw the attack out, those are called startup frames. Like, the FGC has its own terminology. That's how intense it is. It has its own terminology, and it's just not used for games like Xenoverse or Naruto Storm 4. Those are all arena games. They're not even in the same category as Street Fighter and things like that.
So you think that the next step for Bandai is like immersing themselves within that world of 2D fighter video games?
And yes, because not only is it introducing the new Dragon Ball fans who are not into that FGC world, it's introducing the Dragon Ball fans into the FGC, but it's already taking fans like myself, who's part of the FGC, right, and giving them something that's enjoyable. There's not one person in the FGC who is not hype about Dragon Ball Z. I feel like the negative backlash to this game is coming from the Dragon Ball fans.
Okay, so let's go ahead and address that, because there are some people that are gonna say, well, give us a valid reason, give us some sort of, ways of wanting us to get behind this product, because they feel as if the product is not going to deliver, which is why they feel as if, this game just looks bad or it plays bad. Again, I think that the game should be judged in its entirety once it drops, but for all the people that are saying, no, we wanted Raging Blast 3, we wanted Budokai Tenkaichi 4, we wanted Xenoverse 3, we wanted Burst Limit 2, to those people that wanted an alternative, what do you have to say to them?
for people who are saying like, oh, this game is not what we wanted, this game, there's nothing that you can say to really force a company what their executive decisions to make the next game is. If they decide that they want to please the fan base, they can do things. But sometimes a company can decide to take a complete left turn, you know, and try something new. What I feel is that this game does not look bad. If someone says this game looks bad, they're lying to you, because this game looks exactly like an HD quality version of the anime.
Like the anime, yeah. They have definitive shots from like the manga. If you look at like certain kicks and certain attacks, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they literally like recreate the perfect scene, like in Toriyama style, not like an animator style, in Toriyama style from the manga, to make it look iconic. It is amazing how they do that. So because Arc System Works, the people who make Guilty Gear, their animation with the fighting game stuff is no joke. They probably, better than Street Fighter, better than any fighting game I've ever seen, they animate the best, period. That's factual, because if you look at their shit, holy crap, they animate really well. So the fact that they took an over-the-top game like Dragon Ball and turned it into a 2D fighter is crazy. But if you guys wanted something like Xenoverse 3, to address the question, you guys wanted something like Xenoverse 3, or Burst Limit 2, or Raging Blast 3, that's an arena game. They're going for the whole 2D concept right now. And I'm telling you, you have to give this game a chance. You have to give yourself a chance to become a part of the FGC, or to become a part of that competitive nature. Because to be honest, you're not gonna make money right now, the way the world works. You're not gonna make money thinking that you can be a professional Xenoverse 2 player. That's not gonna happen. You will make a shit ton of money if you pursue a career in esports with a competitive game like Street Fighter 5, Street Fighter 4, those games that they host tournaments that you win thousands of dollars. Like Capcom Cup gave away like $25,000, $20,000 to the winner. These are games that make you serious money. And on top of you winning money in the tournament, you get sponsors. You have Red Bull who will pay you paychecks so that you stay home and train, so that when you go to a tournament, you can win.
Right.
On behalf of the company.
So I wanted to ask you, for the fans who feel like they should have stuck with like the whole Street Fighter look, but made it more like a Budokai style, because from the original Budokai games, we saw that, and I think that Dragon Ball FighterZ kind of follows Ultimate Battle 22, Final Bout, you know, things like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. In essence, it goes back to its original roots. But I also wanted to ask you, Danny, like, what are your overall expectations for the product as a whole? Because we know that essentially, as of right now, this may be like not a limited kind of roster type game, but don't expect a Budokai Tenkaichi 3 roster either. So what I wanted to ask you is, what are your overall expectations for the game itself? Do you see the game pretty much lasting on through like Xenoverse did, or do you see the game kind of like falling short in preparations to, as you said, for another title to drop right after they're done? Because again, as you know, Artemis pointed out, this game is being done by Arc Systems Works, and Xenoverse was done by Dimps. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that. If you really feel like the overall expectation level should be, hyped, like people should be hyped about this, or do you think that the product itself is just gonna flop?
Well, for one thing, I want to address, I will admit, I do think the game looks good. Graphically, it looks good. I'm not going to deny that.
Right.
Anyone who says it doesn't is lying.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
To address your question, though, I think it's going to fall short for a few reasons. One being the limited roster. I think at most they're going to have maybe 20 characters, maybe, at that.
Does this include super content? Because we've seen Golden Frieza. So do you think they're going to be adding on super characters like possibly Black and Zamasu, just to give the game sort of like a different feel?
Possibly. But as we know, a lot of characters aren't used, and I don't think they're going to take the time to program them into the game. Okay. We're going to see a lot of the main characters, a lot of the main villains, and that's probably all we're going to get out of it. Gameplay-wise, I think it's pretty much just going to be Marvel versus Capcom with different skins on the characters. That's pretty much what I see it being as. And I think it may have the same the longevity of it, but I just don't see it as being the am I using that word right?
The quintessential game for Dragon Ball?
What?
The quintessential game for Dragon Ball, maybe?
Yeah, that's...
Well, I mean, that all goes through perspective, because there are fans that will sit there and say, well, Tenkaichi 3 was the greatest of all time. Other people will say Budokai. Some people will say, you know, Dragon Ball Z, Goku's Legacy and stuff. People have different opinions, and I think the majority of the fans are hype, and I think that, again, the game should be given a chance, because based on what we're seeing, it looks to function very well. The only thing I'm concerned about is if this is going to be a game to where it's going to be heavily focused on multiplayer, or if it's going to have a story, because nowadays we do have games that come out, for example Titanfall 1, where all it really was a multiplayer type game. So I wanted to go back to Artemis before we head out here, is do you think this game is going to embed a story and have like different functionalities to the game, or do you really see this being a competitive online type game to where they only focus on the fighting and no structural basis for a story or any other alternative mode, in your opinion?
Well, this, I mean, so many things I want to address. Like, I mean, first off, I want to say, like, fighting games back in the day, they used to just be like, you know, it was mainly multiplayer focused, and they didn't really worry about story mode, and there was an arcade mode basically. But recently, like Street Fighter V, for anybody who's not into Street Fighter V was actually the first Street Fighter to have a story mode with cutscenes and everything, to explain some of the story. I don't think with a series like Dragon Ball that they're just gonna go in blind and not include a story mode. I'm sure that they're gonna do that. For anybody who doesn't know, the game Dragon Ball FighterZ was only, I think, like 20% done with what they showed at E3.
Of course, it's in its alpha stages, yeah.
So, and another thing, the mentioning of the roster. You guys wouldn't know this, I don't blame you. There's a game called Skullgirls. The roster for that game is 15 characters. That game developed an insane, huge competitive scene. Skullgirls, a game with a roster of 15 characters. This is what I'm talking about. You guys don't know this because you don't follow the FGC, or you're not into that world. You only assume. And that's why I said, you know, don't comment from assumptions. You have to give it a chance. You don't know how it's going to be. If a game that has 15 characters in the FGC, okay, can raise thousands and millions of dollars through contests and sponsorship, and develop any kind of competitive scene, and be featured at EVO or any tournament, like majors is what they call them in certain states, okay, they have the possibility to go into esports. Like Dragon Ball FighterZ, it has the potential, that's the word I'm looking for, it has the potential to reach the esports quality. And that's why Danny also mentioned that the game, he feels like it's going to be a reskin of Marvel vs. Capcom. Right. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I looked at the control scheme for the game. It's like Marvel vs. Capcom. There's a light, medium, hard attack. There's a
rush attack. Yeah,
there's a rush attack. They have assists. The game that features that is the Marvel vs. Capcom games, where you press a button and an assist character comes in and does an attack. Usually characters have set assist. So if you have Vegeta as your partner and you call him in, he'll do like a million ki blast attacks, you know? And while he's doing that, you can think in your head and set up your next move. Well, maybe I should teleport behind him so this guy doesn't know which way to block. Right. Like that's the type of mentality this game is going to be making you constantly think about your next step. Where as to games like Naruto Storm 4 or Xenoverse 2 is really about a game who can run out of fucking substitutions or stamina first. And that's not how it works. It shouldn't be a game of stamina or whoever can outlast the other better. It should be a game of guesses, technically. Or not even guesses, but reactions and muscle memory. Things like that are a lot more intense because the screen is a lot smaller and a lot more condensed than an arena fighter. That's why these games are taken more seriously, because it takes a lot more skill to play a game like this than something like Xenoverse, where technically even the combos themselves are literally sequenced down to small sequences. It's right, because I was gonna say the game is heavily focusing on being competitive and not giving
you know, one player the advantage and the other a disadvantage, like entirely. Like in Xenoverse, like once you break someone's guard and drop their stamina, they're at a disadvantage like heavily. Like you can't really do anything to counter out of that. But this game seems to offer a different solution to that. So any final words from you guys before we head out of here in pertains to this game? Danny, if you have any words to say. Do you think that they should give the game a chance?
What?
I'm saying, do you think that we should give the game a chance, or do you think it's just a cop-out just for now?
I mean, I think any game... I think any game deserves a chance, but it's not going to change my opinion on what the game is being made for.
Okay. I mean, it's a respectable opinion. Artemis, do you have anything to add on here?
I mean, the game has, it's a lot deeper than what you guys think.
Right.
That's what I just have to say. You guys are seeing this game as one thing without you being a part of the community. You can't really understand what it's like to, you know, make a movie because you're not a director. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
You only see that, oh yeah, it's a guy pointing a camera, but you don't know the difficulties or the experience of how fun it is to make a movie, or to have to talk to your actors, or to find the money for the production. It's the same concept with the game. You don't know what type of mental game you're playing in your own head to play a game like this rather than Xenoverse, you know? So you got to give it a chance. That's all I'm saying. And if you guys want to see more, I know Alex is going to cover this game on his channel. He's giving it a chance. Alex is going into it with an open mind. I'm covering it on my channel. I'm going to release tutorials to show people how to play, because people need to understand that there's different styles of characters. There's these things called characters who like to zone, which keep you away projectiles, rush down characters. I mean, they're self-explanatory, but it's heavily seen a lot in the FGC, and you guys should definitely check it out. Games like Xenoverse, I mean, technically, when you look at it, everybody kind of plays the same. Everybody does the same thing. It's the same square, 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 triangle, triangle. You know, everybody performs their moves the same way. You activate the move button and you press a button to do a special move. It's not skill-based. It's not at all. Literally, in 2 button presses, you can do a special move. And it's just not the same as a 2D fighter. You have to experience it to really understand it.
I still stand by the idea that there is going to be another Dragon Ball game to come out that's similar to Xenoverse, if not Xenoverse 3. The story isn't really complete, with Toa still being alive, and they can always adapt from Dragon Ball Heroes and other concepts, but Dragon Ball FighterZ is the game for now. I think it's going to be released early 2018. So what are your thoughts on it, guys? Do you guys have an open mind on it? And no, don't go into this expecting Battle of Z or anything, you know, ridiculous like that, because I don't think the game is going to be horrid. Again, once you get the game and you play it, and if you decide it's horrible, that's entirely up to you, but I think that everyone should give the game a chance, because I think that until you finally get down with the functionality and seeing how it plays for you, I think that only then can you have the right to judge. But as an audience, I think that we're all excited because it's a Dragon Ball game for once, and we haven't got anything since Xenoverse. So post your comments down below, guys. Thank you all for watching it. You guys can go on ahead and check out DevilArtemis' channel down below. Go on ahead and subscribe to him, guys. He covers lots of things, including more fighter stuff on his channel in the future. Thank you all for watching. Danny, do you have a Twitter or something like that, man? Do you have a Pornhub account we can find you on or something, or?
Just, you can follow me at Fusion of Shards on Twitter.
Fusion of Shards on Twitter. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys are new, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a like down below if you guys enjoyed it, if you guys are ready for Dragon Ball FighterZ, and we'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Have a great day, guys. Peace.